I told you last time about how I really like this cycle of 2 weeks at a time. And this time, I kind of got a little lost. I knew it was coming close. It was about time to do the podcast again. But I honestly couldn't remember where we were in the moon cycle. And that is kind of a testament to how I feel or what I want to share about this new moon. The fact that I was like, what is it? What is this? The feeling of it, to me, doesn't feel the same way that a regular new moon feels. Maybe that's the solar eclipse that just happened. I don't know. It feels both invisible and like it's wearing a mask. Most of the time, I have emergent feeling around new moons. I have a feeling of hopefulness, actually. Fresh starts. Let's try this one more time. Let's go at it from another angle. This particular new moon, now look, maybe you're feeling great, but if you're not feeling great, if you're not feeling wonderful, if you're not feeling top of your game, I think that's exactly right. I'm sorry, but here we are. What is going on anyway? It's a little confusing right now. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Ann Headley, and this is my podcast, What is Going On Anyway? Here I practice 2-week cycles, and I report back every new and full moon. I wonder how universal themes show up for us in these moon cycles, and I reach for meaning using my intuition and imagination to tell a story about this moment now. My hope and my wish is that by sharing this way, I bring myself and you some feeling of connection and maybe even joy. I thank you for being here and for being the listening part that closes the loop of my telling. In the most recent podcast, I was talking about how I believe our stinkin' thinking is the new health scare addiction that we need to recognize. That just like smoking, we will eventually mostly understand that our negative habitual thoughts are bad for our well-being. Okay, I want to think about the reverse of that inventive, imaginative, generative thinking and creative mind processes are ways of increasing flow, well-being, joy, and health in our bodies and in our minds. But what I didn't take the time to address is how when we stay true to our yeses and defend our nos, we create an atmosphere, like an actual protective atmosphere around ourselves. You know how the Earth's atmosphere can just incinerate small objects that come near it? Well, this is not exactly a science lesson, but what I understand is that the reason small objects get burned is because they hit the atmosphere and it compresses the air that makes up the atmosphere, and it creates such heat and friction that it burns because of the oxygen and other gases in the atmosphere. Because space, doesn't have those gases like that. And what I'm proposing in this, very naive metaphysical way is that when we are really staying true to ourselves, we create also an atmosphere around us that gives us some spaciousness that takes care of some of the little, problematic, petty things around us. And it protects us a little bit. So when we're really staying true to ourselves and what feels like yes, it helps gives us some buoyancy. And that seems important to me right now because I personally feel like I can drop down out of buoyancy pretty quickly. I'm wondering about being balanced and aligned and that feeling of spinning around our center midline axis. Like if we think of ourselves sort of like a planet on the inside, I wonder if we also have that bit of atmosphere that keeps small bothers away. Now, I wrote that about a week ago, and since then, I've been pretty off my center. Migraine really throws me, despite all the notes I've taken and the advice I've given. I fall into a place that is simply pain management. There's not a lot of practical finesse in this place. It's just gathering will to make it through. My migraine mind gives me the wisdom of letting go and not being even able to care. It's a huge dismissal of everyday life for me, though in the worst of ways where I can't even enjoy. It's not like a day off dismissal. It's like I'm not enjoying. It's like I've been fired. It's not like a reprieve, I would say. I much more often see and feel it as a punishment. And I would just note that this indicates what feels like some pretty old programming in me, that whatever is going wrong or whatever is feeling bad is something that I need to improve, fix, that somehow I should probably be ashamed of it, that I did something wrong. And so that's something that I've been lately really trying to confront and just accept that perhaps it's bigger than just me. And perhaps my connecting to other people with chronic migraines or whatever such thing. I've done lots of connecting around alopecia. I do less suffering around alopecia lately. So I'm trying to make the connections around the things that I'm more struggling with and realize that I am certainly not alone. So I'm just saying this out loud to you, that if there's anything that you're struggling with, perhaps you can understand that you certainly are not the only one, and that reaching out and making connections, not like not like trauma bonding, but real connections of authentic sharing, and sometimes real help can be found in these arenas. Certainly, I had never even heard of sumatriptan, which has given me a lot of relief. And a friend of mine told me about it, and I got it, and it really has decreased my episodes. So for me, reaching out and not trying to solve, fix, and hide away my troubles and only emerge when everything is well, that did not work out for me. So I arrive with my whole self, all of the stuff. And that's sort of what this new moon feels like. This incredibly interesting moment, which is this new moon and solar eclipse, I think it should feel a little bit unhinged. And it does, doesn't it? You don't have to look far to have that feeling of, yeah, like the hinges are out. So the door might be on, but it's not going to take much for the door to fall off if you don't have the hinges in. So like everything feels a little bit like that right now, that there's not much holding things together. And so this would feel this way personally and also globally, certainly politically. So maybe you're in this place that does not feel like your bestest, most esteemed and dreamed of place in your life. Even though when you take 3 steps back and you just look at the big picture, you might see a lot of things in place that you wonder awe over, that you're really pleased with. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily feel good yet. I think that's kind of like this, like I want to shake my spine. I'm rolling my shoulders like I want to, like if I was a dog, I would want to shake something off, just a little bit of stress off, a lot of stress in the atmosphere. And I think it's from this place where you aren't really killing it, rocking it, living your best life. Now look, if you are, then that's great. You're like in front of the train for us. You're leading us in that direction. But a lot of us are not feeling that way right now. And from this place of not really knowing or feeling like you got this, it's from here we're having to make some of the most important decisions moving forward. It's sort of like being given I want to say is it $20,000? Blah. I don't even want to put money on it anymore. Like being given the $1 million question. $20,000 question? Was that a game show?
1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. Yes, the $64,000 question.
Aha. So I had to look it up. The $64,000 question. I knew it was stuck in there somewhere. All of that's not really the point. The point is there's this moment here where we really have to take a look and ask playing around with this idea of your yeses and your nos, what really is right for you, but it feels like a really important question. And of course, I have no idea. I'm not so sure what the question is, but it's like, do you choose yourself? Will you defend your right to exist? Do you want to stand up for yourself, to exalt yourself? So imagine me answering that question from my deepest pain moment. My head is throbbing, my neck is sore, I'm nauseated. Can I even then stand up for myself? Can I choose for myself? So it's sort of like we have to crawl out of the cave, out of the muck, stand up out of this swampy place and say, yep, I'm still here. Yeah, I'll do me. I'll do this life. I'll bring it. Yes, I'll share my gifts. And the thing is, sometimes we think that we've already made that decision, right? Of course, I'm here to share my gifts. If somebody would validate them first, if somebody would tell me what they are, or but we kind of know. We kind of know the things that we are allured to. We know. And I think this is a moment where you have to actually say yes. And that this time really is so much about consent with yourself, with others, with the universe. You have to really say, yes, I'll do this. Yes, I want this. And you have to mean it. Not because I am saying yes to myself or your friend is saying yes, but because you genuinely, authentically want to see yourself come alive in the world. We all know that quote. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Now this, I had to look it up because it gets attributed to all kinds of people, but it's widely attributed to Howard Thurman, a theologian, Baptist minister, civil rights leader, and social justice advocate. And so we've heard this for years and years and years. It's very inspiring. But I think this moment in time is the moment when we have to live into that answer. What the world needs is what makes you come alive, which is the thing that you love doing, the thing that brings you ease and joy, and the thing that you want to keep efforting towards. So just now I grabbed a few of these yoga cards that I have. They're tiny little square cards that just have a word on them. And the first one is commitment, meditation, remembrance, and fearlessness. And I kind of think these are perfect for now because it's the first thing that comes is a commitment to yourself, a commitment to really standing for your own truth. And sometimes we need the meditation part to go in and ask, what is it? What is it? And if you don't know, you usually know one small thing that you can do. One small thing that really does bring you joy, that makes you feel like your bestest self. and take one small step in that direction. Remembrance comes next, and I think it's a remembrance because I often really feel like the connection to that feeling is something that we've always known. We always, from the very beginning, from birth, probably beyond, but from this very youthful place, this place of innocence where we just are enthusiastic to participate in this whole, wide, earthly, physical experience. And that enthusiasm and remembering that essential enthusiasm, I think that remembrance is like letting go of some of our maturity, letting go of some of our sophistication, and remembering just straight up enthusiasm for life. And sometimes that can help us understand the things that we're willing to fight for and the things that we're willing to stand up. Besides ourselves, some essential things that we're willing to speak up for. And then the last one is fearlessness. That obviously we have to find a place where we're not afraid, that it's worth it. And something that I was thinking before I started recording was somehow we have to let fearlessness be side to side with confronting death, side to side with facing our death. We know we're not going to be here forever. And if you ever listen to folks who talk to dead people or listen to folks who have had near-death experiences, they pretty much universally say death is easy, death is sweet, death is comfortable. And there's this other side of it, which of course your body, your ego does not want to die and has a survival instinct, which is important. But on the other side of that, what if death isn't scary? What if we didn't have to be threatened by death? That sounds like the dumbest thing to say, doesn't it? Of course we're threatened by death. But what I mean is, what if this sense of fearlessness is maybe it's not so bad on the other side? So if it's not so bad on the other side, maybe we don't have to be so fearful on this side, that we can stand up for what we believe in because the alternative is death. Let's jump into the I Ching and see what the I Ching has for us for this 2-week cycle, for this new moon period. And when we go into this, I would ask you to just take a moment here before I ask. And so we gather together kind of this questioning, asking resources. And together, let's just hold a space, maybe a big breath in. And maybe if you can, again, let's go back to that place where your hand is on your heart. You're remembering yourself, holding space for yourself, standing up for yourself, fully occupied. And let's wander into this query together. What would you have us know if you could share anything with us through the I Ching? What would you have us know about this moment now? What will help us to think about, to ponder over, to hold in our hearts? We get 19, nearing, also known as releasing the spirit and promotion or approach. The questions to ask: how does this want to grow? How can you take responsibility for its development? And what would your greater self do? Nearing means drawing closer and gazing down over what you approach. There are 2 strands of meaning here. The approach of a greater spirit or presence in an ongoing process of growth, and your approach as the one who pays attention and takes responsibility. Like the creative drive of Hexagram 1, this great growing energy comes from the source, asks for your full participation, and seeks to reach fruition and be realized. And I think this part is important. Its surging growth can be disastrously interrupted by reaching an end in the 8th month. That's in quotation marks, by reaching an end when we come to harvest time. The 8th month is the month of harvest. If this comes around too soon for what nears to reach full growth, if the situation demands that you produce a tangible result prematurely, then this means misfortune. So, right, this is not about conclusions. This is not about finishing. This is about being asked the question and standing up to, like, say, I. I in the sense of, like, your vote, AYE, and also saying I, like, I am standing up for myself. I'll take my space. I'll defend myself. Okay. If the situation demands that you make a tangible result prematurely, this means misfortune. Or if you focus exclusively on results instead of watching patiently over developments, if your expectations are out of touch with the pace of growth, then there's misfortune. Having something to show for a process of growth doesn't mean you've arrived at its outcome. Harvest is not the end. As each harvest is gathered in and stored, the seasonal cycle of growth continues. You need to stay present to its ongoing changes, wherever they might lead. This is not about a quick change. This is about changing the way we do things. It feels to me very revolutionary in the sense of we're not trying to renovate. It's like we're watching something fall apart and then I'm turning my head to a completely different direction. We're over in a different place and we're very slowly asking each other, what do you have that will help? And somebody's coming in and saying, I have stones for the foundation. Like it's a kind of different way of relating to each other. Now, the interesting thing is this hexagram is unchanging. We don't get that often. So I always go to this other resource to read about the unchanging lines. Without change, promotion without change suggests an eternal spring in regard to the object of your inquiry. This is indeed auspicious, as it appears that you are in an excellent position to carry out your plans successfully, or perhaps you can help others in the attainment of their own pursuits. So highly auspicious for us to get this as an unchanging hexagram. I also want to note that the hexagram right before this one, 18, is called corruption. So in sequence, we get corruption and then comes nearing or approach. With work to do, greatness becomes possible, and so nearing follows. Nearing means greatness, so nearing follows corruption. The experience of dealing with corruption gives rise to nearing. What was once a curse becomes a source of strength. By doing the work of dealing with the old poisons, you create a secure foundation for your greater self to emerge. No negative pattern or insecurity need remain to obstruct the process of growth. And then this is kind of sweet. The hexagram that comes after. So if we're thinking about moving through sequences, the next one is seeing. Hexagrams 19 and 20. So we got 19. So 19 would be reaching towards 20. They respond to one another. Seeing watches for nearing to approach. So we have something waiting for us. We are being the nearing. We're being the approach. And then 20, I hope I'm not being too confusing. Hexagram 20 is the seeing that's waiting for us to come. So it's waiting for us to come and reach out. These hexagrams connect and they complete the other. When you are nearing, you become the help, guidance, or opportunity waiting to be seen. And I don't know if you're like me and you're somebody who was seeking Like, this is such a human thing. Of course you're like me. I don't know if you want validation and approval like every other person wants. But when you are like me and you have been waiting, searching, hoping, if you have any of that kind of performer juju in there, that the performer wants to be validated. We all want to be validated. And right now, this is kind of topsy-turvy, where we have to believe in ourselves and move towards being seen. We won't be seen first. We have to believe in ourselves and move toward with our, help, guidance, opportunities waiting. So this all feels quite hopeful to me, even though it's painful. Everything feels like rubble around us. So it's not easy now. No illusions about that. And one more bit from another of the texts around the I Ching. Look at things with care and sympathy. Welcome the approach of others. Keep your expectations modest. This contact opens a whole new cycle of time. It is particularly favorable for what is growing. So beware, trying to rush to completion and an early harvest will cut you off from the spirits and leave you open to danger. And that was what we read in the very beginning. Don't rush. And I'm going to read a little more. This is the return of the great. Invite it to come nearer. The proper thing to do is bring things together. When you teach, use your teaching to continually ponder the heart's concerns. Tolerate and protect things and people outside your normal set of values without setting limits on them. There is an undeveloped potential that you rely on without knowing it. What is strong and firm in this situation increases gradually. Work to express it. Keep yourself centered and connected to things. If you want something great to come of this, you must continually correct yourself. That is heaven's way. Stay on an even path. Rushing to finish things will leave you open to harm. The whole situation will dissolve. So we keep getting that. No rushing here. Think of this as the beginning of a great change, a great time of change. And I'm also going to ask for an animal spirit card. This, again, is the Kim Kran's Animal Spirit deck, just for a little bit of extra support. Well, we didn't quite get an animal at all. We got Black Egg, which is speaking from an authentic voice, the truth. The black egg contains one of life's essential treasures, the truth. Inside of it resides no confusion, excuses, small talk, noise, or lies, not even white ones. This living and breathing vessel harbors only that which rings true. When this essence is in balance, we speak slowly and clearly. We're drawn to activities like writing, reading, teaching, singing, or perhaps public speaking. Sound draws us in. Books draw us in. The concept of truth itself draws us in. We start asking questions like, what do I know to be true about myself? And what is true about the world? When the energy of the black egg is not yet accessed, we speak from an unsure place. We say things others want to hear. We gossip or repeat stories to justify our subpar behavior. We might even try to convince ourselves that we have no inner truth at all. The energy of the black egg hovers and waits for us to reconnect. It is available at every moment, in every situation. It is the epicenter of truth, the birthplace of our voice. How beautiful. And the image is a black egg, which looks like an oblong dot with concentric circles drawn all around it. And I think that's the place that we're meant to speak up for, that inner voice, even if we don't know what it is we want to stand for and we don't really understand ourselves because this is just this incredible mystery, we can still stand for wanting to know ourselves. We can stand for holding space, for really occupying our inner voice and doing our best to bring it to the outside. Now, if you were going to practice opening your throat center and preparing it to speak up for yourself, to be the vehicle for your inner voice, you could do a bit of humming. You might even open it into ah. And just get yourself, besides just like regular talking with other people, you might get yourself to use your voice more fluidly so that it's okay for things to come out. You know, things that aren't controlled and contained. Just an idea. A humming 2 weeks, a singing 2 weeks, using our voices. That's it, friends. That is the new moon. Good luck to you. It does not feel like an easy time. It feels like a time that it's good to reach out. It's good to take care of the people close to you and hold hands sometimes. And probably it's good to sing together. Okay. Thank you for being here. You can find out more about me on my website, www.annhedley.com. As always, thank you so much for being here, for listening, and taking the time to be with me. May you be well, and may you know peace, and may all beings everywhere, whether known to me or unknown, may they be well, and may they know peace. Bye for now.